Okay, so I feel like we live in an age of myths. The myth of that if you work hard, you will make it. And I can look around and I see that myth is crumbling a lot every day, even in my own personal life. Like, for instance, a lot of people my age are trying to get on the housing ladder and they're blaming themselves that they didn't work hard enough to be able to afford housing. Housing that is a lot more expensive than it was 40 years ago when it was bought for, I don't know, like a pack of crisps. Okay, like that's a bit of an exaggeration, but it was four times the annual salary in the 1980s. Now it's seven times the annual salary, at least in the UK, in London. Well, the UK basically. And individuals will look at themselves and be like, oh, I'm not good enough. I haven't worked hard enough to be able to afford that house. Whereas you should be really looking at the system. The system has failed people. The government has failed to create affordable housing. And they've done that because a lot of what happened in the 1970s with Margaret Thatcher and Reagan created this perfect storm where housing is now seen as a commodity asset to speculate on rather than for housing. Social housing was destroyed or sold off for profit, creating these mini capitalists running around, which are our parents. But that allowed them to have us, and it's just a whole mess. But essentially, what's going on is now people are looking at themselves and looking at their parents' success and being like, why can't I do that? Why can't I afford that? And it's very, well, in a sense, heartbreaking because they've worked hard and they've done everything that they were meant to, but they will not receive that same level of success. And they may be even more successful than their parents, earning more than their parents. And yet they won't reach that level because the system is in disarray. But this cult of hard work is very, very pervasive in our society. And I've been feeling it a lot. It's something that I've tried to get over and try to move past, but it is perpetuated in our media. Take, for instance, people who are trying to become footballers. Only 180 people will be signed out of 1.5 million who play football. That is a success rate of 0.0012%. That is very, very low. And yet, people will say, well, maybe you didn't work hard enough. And it is something that is perpetuated. Imagine saying to a young man who is trying his best and he doesn't reach a level of success. Then you have like someone like Andrew Tate coming along saying, well, you didn't work hard enough. Look at me. I made it. Not knowing that Andrew Tate is an exception to the rule rather than the rule itself. And it's something we see every day. And it perpetuates a kind of behavior that isn't good for society at all. It creates mental health crises and it doesn't allow people the space to just grow and be. 42% of the top actors had a parent in the industry. 70% of billionaires come from wealthy families. Most elite athletes had private coaching and expensive training. Yet, we will say that hard work got them there. Not luck, not circumstance, just hard work alone. And you will see it on social media a lot where people are like, well, I got here via hard work. Yeah, you worked hard. Maybe. We don't know that. We didn't see you working hard. But your circumstance allows you to get to the position that you are as well. Luck, factors of that nature, meeting the right people. You start to look at people's lives who are successful and you realize that a lot of things that happen kind of happened purely by luck as well. Like they met the right person, they were in a space to meet the right person. That comes from privilege. And I'm not saying this to be like, oh yeah, all they did is, be rich. But, in some circumstances, that's all they kind of had to do because being rich allowed them to be in specific circumstances for them to reach a level of success. We see it in the music industry, we see it in football. Like, not everyone is able to make a living of their passions. You can do it on the side for yourself, and to love that process is amazing and something that should be done. But your success or your failure is not dependent on just you. there is a wider world out there, and it's good to try. It's good to go for what you want, your dreams, but it should be done with a space, a kind of thought, at least for yourself, for your sanity, that things may not work out how you want it to. And it kind of sucks to be in that space, right? It does suck to think like that. But everyone likes to think they're the exception to the rule. And it's not the case. And it can end really badly. We have the people that leave college myth, that they leave college because they saw like Bill Gates left college. There's so many stories like that we see and that people try to follow as well. Capitalism needs us to believe these things. It needs us to believe in individualism at a certain point, that you alone are the reason for your success or failures. Forget about the state, forget about them, it's down to you. And this is something that Margaret Thatcher said a lot, that people rely on the state, even though the state is the reason for a lot of the social progress and social schemes that have allowed people to flourish. We are a communal species. We have done things communally for millennia. And it is the thing that is great about humans. It takes communities to succeed for the most part. But, people don't want to hear that sometimes. When the richest 1% hold a lot, and I mean a lot of the wealth, and continue to hold a lot of the wealth, these myths get perpetuated because who owns those media spaces but the ultra wealthy? They own those spaces. We do see some messaging that being born into wealth allows you to reach heights that other people will not see. We're not dumb. We understand this, but for some reason, we always do say that hard work is the marker of success or failure, and it's not down to anything else, and that anything else you say is an excuse. I want people to kind of understand, and I'm doing this for myself as well. I'm trying to think in a most holistic way that allows us to have our mental health and be able to move forward and enjoy our passions. For instance, in my life, I've taken up coding, gymnastics, things of that nature that I just enjoy, and I do them because they're awesome and they are avenues for meeting people as well. I don't care about success or failure. I do it for rather the joy of those things, and it allows me to even be better than I would be if I was trying to be successful from it, if that makes sense. It's kind of like a oxymoron in a way, but those things do work. Anyway, the last thing I'll say is that you need to kind of be political in this space. Gary Stevenson talks about this a lot. He says that you need to be political and protect your rights. You have to protect your rights because the wealthy are going to eat you. They're going to take everything from you. And they're going to perpetuate this myth that if you don't work hard enough, it's your fault. And we see this a lot now, where we see wealthy individuals on social media and they are, flexing or whatever. And they'll say, well, you just need to work hard to get where I am. And it's not great. It's not great at all. But to be political is to protect yourself from that kind of space, in a sense, because what we really need right now is a wealth tax. And a wealth tax will allow for things like healthcare, better access to facilities, social programs that are going to allow people to access more passions in the arts and music, in tech, in agriculture, in green energy. These things are really needed, and programs are needed to train people who want to get into those industries and build something for themselves. That's the kind of thing that we need. We need more presence in that space, more communal presence. But it's a long way to go. Anyway, I've waffled. This was all over the place, but just my thoughts. My name is Michael, and hope you maybe enjoyed, or maybe you resonated, or maybe you don't agree. Let me know.